Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am Jody Grunwald. We are back after a brief hiatus. Okay, maybe not as brief as I would have liked it to be, but I am so glad to be back interviewing the Changemakers inspirers and those who are disrupting the status quo in their corner of the world and beyond. This week, my guest is Veronica Maoli, entrepreneur, real estate, and automotive industries. At just 25 years old, she is the dealer principal of Celebrity Ford of Toms River. Veronica's energy, tenacity, and determination to succeed, along with her willingness to be so open with sharing her lessons learned, are both admirable and truly inspiring. Get ready to hear how to put things in perspective, believe in yourself, and let go of allowing judgment to hold you back. If you can, please take a moment to subscribe to our Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel. Or if you are streaming our episodes, please share them and leave a review. It is because of your ongoing support that my guests have now been heard in over 700 cities and 63 countries. That is truly incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you have a story to tell about how your work is truly having a ripple effect in your corner of the world or beyond? If so, email me at Jody, Jodi, at todayisthedayliveit.com and find out how you can share your story both here and at our annual Changemakers International Forum. If you want to learn more, go to todayisthedayliveit.com. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I hope we connect again soon. Have a fabulous week, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers Podcast. I am Jody Grunwald, and every week I say I get to interview the changemakers, the inspirers, and those who are disrupting the status quo in the best way possible. They are doing all they can to make the world a better place. And today I have Veronica Maoli with me. Hi, Veronica. How are you?
Hi, how are you, Jody?
I am good, and I'm so happy to have you here. Before we get into our conversation, which I know is going to be so inspirational for those who are listening, I just want to give a little background about you, and then we'll get into a little bit more detail. So Veronica is the owner and dealer principal for Celebrity Ford of Toms River. She's designer and owner of Maoli Group. She's on the board of Deidre's House in Morris County, New Jersey. And she's just, I've spoken to her a few times, and she's so inspirational. I'm so excited to have you here. Hi, Veronica.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here. And there's so much I want to get into because I am on this tour this year of really wanting to interview young change makers who are doing incredible things so that they can teach others, no matter what age, wherever you are, you can do whatever you can to make a difference. So let's start out and go back a little bit into your childhood, like I always like to do.
Absolutely.
And so tell me about where you grew up and what kind of child were you? Shy, outgoing?
So I grew up in Mendham, New Jersey, which is in Morris County. And I went to private school my entire life, which is kind of a really important aspect of how I grew up. And I had a little bit of a love-hate relationship with it. I loved the education that I got from the private school aspect, but I was always the type of kid who would rather hang out with the teachers, who would rather hang out with, kids that were in older grades. I kind of struggled with finding my group to kind of fit in with. I never liked the idea of cliques and really even groups in general. I don't know. I think that the way that my parents kind of raised me is that everybody has their own uniqueness and everybody should just be accepted for who they are. And part of, being someone's friend, you're not supposed to be friends with somebody who is exactly like you. There are no two people that are exactly alike. And that's the uniqueness of this world. So I think that at a young age, for some reason, there becomes this idea that we're supposed to be friends with everybody who has everything in common with each other, right? And if you don't have blonde hair, blue eyes, you're not in this group. If you don't like horses, you're not in this group. If you don't like to go on the swing set, you're not in this group. So it's very interesting because instead of teaching kids, and I think this has evolved as we become, come into 2023, it's this concept has evolved of the way that kids are taught. But there's this concept that we should just be friends with the people that are like us. And I kind of have brought a different philosophy into my life, because I actually want to surround myself with people that aren't like me, because that's how I learn and that's how I get different perspectives on life. So that's, that's kind of my thought process there. And I grew up, I struggled with being bullied as a kid and not fitting in and all that sort of stuff. And as much as it was so horrible in the moment, it really has brought me to where I am. I started, ballroom dancing at a young age. I always was kind of involved in dancing, but I really, I don't know what it was. I decided I wanted to do it. My parents said, great, do the research, get involved. If you want to do it and find out all the information and give it to us and we'll sign you up. And so I did it. And that really helped me grow my confidence. And from there on, I really focused on me and stopped focusing on those around me. And I think that really shaped me as an adult. I hope that answers your question.
No, it totally does, and gives me so much more to ask more questions with. So thank you.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started ballroom dancing?
I was 12. Yeah.
That's, I have my own children, and that's the tough stage. I feel like that middle school time frame when we're trying to find ourselves. And like you, I was in the same place, being bullied growing up, and it's incredible how you can remember those things very vividly, right? You can't remember. Sometimes I can't remember what I ate for dinner last night, but we can remember the feeling of how it felt. So what advice do you have for, whether it's a child that's listening to this, a teen, a mom? What would you say when you hear others being bullied? How do you feel that you could help them and give them advice and to handle it better?
Yeah, I think that there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you. And I think that or doesn't like something about you. And I think that the first step in understanding, how to navigate being bullied and bullies out there in the world is that you have to become okay with someone disliking you or disliking something about you. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop after middle school. And so there's always going to be people that, that have something to say about you. And so the best thing that you could do is become comfortable and confident in the person that you are, and believe in yourself, and believe that you are who you are, and there's no reason to change that. And you shouldn't change that for anybody, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's, for a job position. And I mean fundamental things. Of course, we're going to change throughout our life. We're going to improve upon things. We're going to work to grow in different ways. But I mean, really fundamentally, your personality, the things that you like to do, that sort of stuff, you shouldn't adapt for somebody else. I came to a point in my life in relationships where I had been in a couple different relationships where I had really conformed to them. And I'm engaged now, and with my fiance now, when we first started kind of hanging out and going to dinner and stuff, I said, look, I said to myself, I'm not going to waste my own time, right, trying to be somebody that I'm not. I said, I've done it too many times. So I laid it out on the table for Zach. And I said, these are the things about me. And if you are not here because for me, then this is the wrong relationship for you, and that's okay. And being okay with somebody not wanting to be your friends, or being okay with somebody not wanting to date you or anything like that, or wanting you for a job position. I think, keeping, my dad has taught me since a young age, keeping your blinders on, keep focused on you. And at the end of the day, people will gravitate towards you that have the same energy as you. You don't need those people that don't. And that's my biggest advice.
And it is so beautifully said, Veronica. So thank you. That was amazing. And it's so true. And, it took me a long time to learn the same things. That confidence, it builds over time, the more you become comfortable in your own skin. And so many times in life, people kind of pick at you, you know what I'm saying? And they try to take away that individuality. And like you said in the beginning, we try to circle ourselves with those who are similar or like us. I think it's because we're afraid of being different. And somewhere in society, being different was always made us feel like it's wrong instead of instead of embracing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I don't know, I think the world would be very boring if we were all the same.
Exactly. And the other thing you said, which I think is really important, especially for women, I truly believe this, is that, you said and congratulations on your engagement and your upcoming wedding, is saying to Zach, this has to work for me. If this doesn't work, if you can't accept me for who I am, then this doesn't work. And being able to walk away, if that situation, a lot of people can't do that because of that fear of being alone. And sometimes being alone feels so lonely because we're not necessarily comfortable with ourselves as well, right? So it's a beautiful information and wonderful, and kudos to you for being able to do those types of things. So take us on your journey a little bit further now. So you graduated from high school and you went to college for what specifically?
So I went to High Point University. I got a degree in entrepreneurship. I actually specifically went to High Point University for that major because at the time there weren't a lot of colleges that were offering an entrepreneurship major. Now there are more colleges who have integrated it into their programs, and I think it's an incredible major because it gives you a really broad sense of business. It's not necessarily targeted to a corporate job. It's targeted towards more business ownership. And that's something that I think is a really vital skill. And I think that even having that knowledge as somebody in corporate America, or as somebody who is going to be an employee, is a really important perspective to have. Because at the end of the day, you're working for a company that has a greater goal, whether it's a nonprofit that has a greater goal, whether it's a for-profit that has a greater goal of increasing their income and their profits. You have to understand the big picture, not just your specific job. So, and that's kind of the philosophy that we've integrated into our businesses as the celebrity brand, is that every single employee is in it as a team, right? Every single employee is in it for the end goal, for our overarching goal that is everybody's goal. Everybody has their individual goals as a person. You want to grow in this sort of way. You want to become better at this and whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, we all have the same goal in mind. And I think that what happens is when you go to school and you learn accounting, let's just give an example, right? You learn accounting.
Right.
You're pigeonholed into focusing on only knowing how to do that accounting job. You're not looking at the big picture of everything. So that's kind of why I really liked my degree and the classes that I took. And I had an incredible experience at High Point University. I know this is not a advertisement for them, but I would recommend it for honestly anybody. The philosophy behind their entire mission is just incredible. They're a very life-driven university. They call themselves a life skill university, and they have classes specifically oriented, and the way that things are structured is oriented towards once we graduate as students, we should know how to take on life, right? Not just knowing exactly what you're doing for your job, not just knowing what's in the textbook. And that's something that the president of the university has done an incredible job at. So yeah, I just a shameless plug there that I really recommend the school. Had an incredible experience. I actually graduated during COVID. So I didn't have an actual graduation, and they were nice enough to allow our class of 2020 to walk the next year and there was no way I was going to miss that, because I was like, I have worked my entire life until this day to walk across that stage. So COVID came. I kind of took the time during COVID to really focus on myself. I had been in a relationship during college that wasn't really the best relationship for myself. Just definitely emotionally abusive, and just not it, and it was, in the moment, it was horrible. And I had this, my parents got divorced when I was in high school, and I still have, but I work on it every single day, this complex of needing to help people. And it's a great thing, but it's also a dangerous thing. And so I met someone, and he needed help, whether it was getting his grades up, like he wasn't doing well in school. And I always was a good student. I worked really hard at it, but I was like, okay, great. That was my safety net in a lot of relationships, was that if the person needed me, they were not going to ever go anywhere. So I stayed with him for 2 years, wound up breaking up. Honestly, he cheated on me, and it was the best thing that ever happened. And I'll tell you that, because I honestly don't think I would have ever gone out of that relationship if that didn't happen. And it's very odd, because people talk to me and they meet me, and I think about it now, and I'm like, I would never let any of those things happen now, just based off of the work that I've done with myself. So I took the time during COVID, because we had broken up prior to that. And I really just focused on myself. I became a yoga teacher. I just took the time that I felt like most people were sitting around complaining a little bit that we're all by ourselves and we have nothing to do and we're bored and we're going to binge watch TV. And of course I did that stuff. But at the same time, I was like, okay, this is my time to really work on myself. So that's when I started to do the yoga teacher training. I started my real estate business, started looking for properties to invest in with the help of my dad. And my mom's a lawyer, so she was helping me alongside my dad as well. And we invested in the properties. I worked on, flipping the houses, and that's kind of how I started that part of it. But yeah, for me, COVID was a time where I really just focused on me.
And I see Ruby is making an appearance here. For those who are seeing this on YouTube, you can meet Ruby, but unfortunately, if you're streaming this, you can't see Ruby. But Ruby is adorable. And what's Ruby again? What kind of a dog?
She's a Cavalier King Charles.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute, and she adores Veronica. It's so adorable.
I got her during COVID, and she does not leave my side.
And I love it. And I love that she goes to work with you. It's just so adorable. But I want to go back to what you said for a minute. The path we're all on, when we're on it and these things happen to us, because somebody may be listening and going through a battle of their own right now. We don't know. They could be cheated on. They maybe have a health scare. We don't know, but we don't really understand more in the thick of it why it's happening to us. I'm assuming you probably, and I shouldn't assume, but that when you were in the thick of it, you're like, why is this happening to me? But you did some, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I will be honest, I've had a lot of conversations with God in my head that I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? And I'm a firm believer, and this is maybe a unpopular opinion, and sometimes my mom will kind of say, no, don't say those things. But sometimes I'm like, I tell God, I'm like, because I have my own relationship with God and my own unique thing with God as far as how I communicate with him. And I think that that's just how I do it. But I'll say, like, I really hate you right now. And my mom's like, don't say that. And I'm like, okay, but God is not going to leave my side because I'm angry with him right now, and that's something that I've learned is the way that I am able to have a relationship with God. I get angry when I don't understand what's going on, right? Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to somebody else? You think about kids that, get cancer at a young age. Why? Makes no sense. Makes zero sense.
Yeah. What I've learned, no, I was just going to say what I have learned and what I'm still learning is that found out that through the pain is a lesson. We don't know what the lesson is going to be, and we don't know why, and we may never know why. We're in the thick of that. But what you came out with on the other side is sounds like such a healthy relationship with Zach and a healthy relationship with yourself, yoga teaching, and just getting one with yourself. Now, if that relationship didn't end before, would you have gone through all of that? We don't know.
So I was actually driving down on the way home from work the other day, and I'm thinking to myself, if I was thinking about all the things, I'm 25 years old, and I'm not gonna lie, I think I've been through a lot for a 25-year-old. I know there's plenty of people out there that have also gone through so many things, but I look back on my life and I already feel like I've been through a lot and learned a lot. And that's not a bad thing, right? And then I've learned all those things, but it's also put me in a perspective of the fact that I need to, and we were speaking about this a little bit before we kind of started recording, but that's what's made me realize that I have to live my life, and I have to do the things that I enjoy doing, the little things. I love getting coffee, like going to little coffee shops, I love flowers, having a fresh bouquet of flowers in the house always makes me happy. Those little things are just really important to enjoying your everyday life, right? And whether it's going for a walk in the morning or whatever it may be, I carve out every Thursday morning, I do a yoga, like an hour and a half yoga session with my yoga teacher, the one that trained me. So those are things that I have to prioritize. I prioritize time with family, right? Time with my fiance. I have a handful of friends and I'm okay with that. We went through our wedding list of people that we're inviting, and both Zach and I are like, we only have like maybe 10 friends between the two of us. And I'm okay. And I, like, to me, that's not a bad thing. I would prefer quality over quantity. And so I really I prefer to surround myself with people that are going to help me grow, encourage me to grow, support me in the right way. And contrary maybe to what a person is looking for in a friendship, I want someone that's going to challenge me. I don't want somebody who is going to just yes me to death and be like, yes, you go girl, you got this. I want somebody to that I can bounce my ideas off of, and they can tell me, I think that this is a really awesome idea, but maybe you should think about this, or maybe you should think about that, or, even when it comes to advice for a relationship, my friends, I talk to them and they give me their honest opinion. I have a few friends that don't want my honest opinion, and I struggle with that because it's like, and I have to say, do you want my honest opinion or do you want just my support right now? And so I don't feel that I'm being a true friend if I'm lying to you and telling you you're right? That's not what I feel a friend should be, right? And so I don't know what this original question was, but that's where I put a tangent on.
No, and I'm following you on the journey because I'm just so impressed by by you in general, because of the fact that you have your experiences, you share them openly, which I think is just so important. It's so important that we share the things that we go through in life so that we can help others. And when you talk about being challenged, I am like you, a very small core group of friends, and those are the people that I want them to say when I ask them a question. Hey, what do you think about this idea? You don't want yes people, because if you fail, right, you're failing alone. But if they're there supporting you, saying, hey, listen, watch out, there's an obstacle in front of you that you're not seeing, and they help you get over it, that's where you connect even better. Yes, people, it's great for validation, but it doesn't, it's an ego. It just fills your ego. And
Exactly.
honestly, our egos get us in trouble a lot of times, right? Because it's great to be confident, but there's also a part that if you go too far, it becomes cocky. So it needs to, we always want to have a nice balance between being confident, but also knowing that we don't know everything and we need to go out and ask people. And I love what you were saying. Now, I know that you had gone for very specific training as you were moving into your new career here, and you talked about the fact that were doing design work for your dad's company, and that you were also started your own company. You were flipping business, houses and things like that, and real estate. And so how did you make your way? I mean, I'm so excited for you, Veronica, because of what you've started. And I also want to get into some of your, the thought process that you have with the dealership, right? Because we all know about cars and we all know about car buying. So I'm going to put that off to the side because I really do want to talk about that. But moving into working with your dad, was that something that you thought that you were going to be doing your whole life, or did it just come upon you and you decided, what, this is the path I really want to take?
Yeah, so I never my entire life I was very resistant to being involved in the family business. So from a young age, so I actually watched my dad grow his businesses. So I wasn't necessarily born into success. My dad was, I grew up comfortable. And I grew up with my dad and my mom working extremely hard to build the businesses. And, my dad never went to college. He started at a young age of 18, graduated high school barely, and he'll admit that. He was never a student person. Like, he was never very studious. He was never interested in, book smart stuff. And he's extremely business savvy and extremely, street smart. And the academics were never his thing, but he he did a very large amount of things, owned gas stations, did what he could to start making some money. And then he kind of fell into this concept of doing courier services. So delivering papers to lawyers and doctors' offices and that sort of thing. And eventually it grew into, and he was doing all that on his own. And then he realized he needed to hire people. And then he had to make enough money to pay one person, and so he was still doing the gas stations and still doing everything at the same time. He eventually grew that company into a large logistics business, and then sold that business, focused on real estate for a while. This is like a short version of everything because he's 60, he'll be 61. So there's a lot in there, but he eventually was approached to be in the car business. But pretty much my entire life, everyone has always asked me, are you going to get involved in the family business? Like, you would be silly not to get involved in it. I mean, why would you not optimize on this opportunity? And all those types of comments. And I always felt like that was limiting me and what I was able to do. And I know that maybe sounds ungrateful in a way, but I always felt like, and that's how it was perceived. When I would say, no, I don't want to be in the family business, I want to do my own thing, people would think that I was ungrateful. And so I spent a long time just wanting to carve my own path for myself. And I started to do that in the real estate. I kind of, my dad had been involved in real estate and was doing a lot of real estate, but I wanted to do more of design stuff and the business side of things. So I wanted to combine the two. And so I wound up starting my own business, the Maoli Group, started working with my dad every day at his office at our car dealership in Whippany, New Jersey, the Lexus dealership, because that was his first dealership. So that's where he has his offices. And I started to listen to what he was doing. I would listen to him on the phone. I would listen to him, talking to other people in the dealership. And I'm like, this whole car business thing really is very interesting. And it's really not about cars. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's about it's like any other business. It's a product, it's customer service, and it's about managing all of the nuances of this type of industry. It's not necessarily, you don't need to be a car guru to be in the car business. Although I do like cars, but it wasn't, I was intimidated by that part of it. And so as I started to become interested in it, I'm like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to follow in my dad's footsteps? And I say that because there was always this negative connotation in that for me. I didn't want to just ride his coattail. And I think that's, and you know what, maybe I could step back a second and say that I want to follow in his footsteps, but I don't want to ride his coattail, right? I don't want people to think that I'm doing this and I have this simply because I was handed this. So when I decided I want to become become involved in the car business, I promised myself that I was going to also carve my own path for myself in that way. And it was definitely a hard pill for me to swallow, accepting that it was okay for me to accept opportunity that is in front of me. I don't always have to create something on my own. And so I kind of realized, and after talking to my dad about this a lot, and he's very supportive of me, understanding of the fact that I don't want to ride his coattail. I don't want people to think that I just, am just doing exactly what he's doing and was handed this opportunity. But he's expressed so much that he's worked his entire life to give these opportunities to his kids. And that to me just showed me that this is now an opportunity for me that he's built, but that doesn't mean that it stops there. I have so much more to go. I have so much more growth that I can give to this, right? And I think that having that perspective has really changed the way that I looked at things. I still get the comments about nepotism. I still get the comments about, well, you were just handed this and whatever it is. But at the end of the day, those people, I have to look and see where they are, right? And I'm not saying that they're in a bad place or anything, but they're wasting their time talking about me. I'm spending my time growing. So that's kind of the perspective that I have on that.
I talk all the time on this podcast about the fact that if we could release judgment of others, we could all be a lot more authentic in who we are instead of being afraid of being judged. And I feel, we talked about this when I met with you for the first time, and it's awful. It truly is awful that, because there's someone in someone's life who mentors them. Like my dad was my mentor, and I lost him 8 years ago. And I listened. It's so funny when you said that. I listened to him on the phone and I listened to him in business and I followed his path in a different way. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have gotten into the different things that I've been growing into. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying yes.
And so I love hearing about, how a dad is mentoring and you're listening. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And sometimes people, I hate to say this, there's a bit of jealousy if they don't have that in their life.
Yeah.
And also that judgment, it's so easy to judge someone else's path when you're not in their shoes. So it's horrible. And you know what I think is amazing and incredible is we all know for the most part that the industry you're in is very male dominated, right? It takes a tremendous amount of courage, Veronica, to say, you know what, I'm going to do what you're doing. I'm going to get into this industry. I'm going to learn. And I'm going to take a step back. And when we met, there was someone I met on your team and you talked about him being someone that you go to for advice because you can trust him. And that it's beautiful because you're listening. You're not just coming out of it being, the boss and sitting in the top and not listening to your staff and the people that work for you. Ham10 is a leader in IT enterprise solutions and staffing. They are driven to transform their clients' business performances. They do this every day by providing the clients with the best services and products. Products like BizLego, an online community platform, and Colear, a unique learning management system. They also transform the lives of women and children through their associated nonprofits, SheTech, which supports women in and joining the technology field, and Sofkin, support organization for kids in need. PAM10, technology for social good. Go to pam10.com for more information.
So talk to me a little bit about moving into Celebrity Ford of Toms River and what your culture is and what you want from the organization and want to give to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. Being a woman in a male-dominated industry is a very interesting journey, but I would be lying if I said that that didn't encourage me even more. I really, to be honest with you, walking into it, I was thinking, so what, right? It doesn't matter, right? I know that I'm capable, whether I'm a woman, whether I'm a man, it doesn't matter, right? And at the end of the day, I know there's going to be people. I've already experienced it in this 1 month of being a dealer principal. There's going to be people that think that I'm not capable, and just because I'm a woman. And you know what? Let them think that, because they're just fooling themselves. And at the end of the day, they can, be angry. Just the same concept as a bully, right? They can be angry. They can be pissed off. They can be, annoyed that I'm a woman in the business. But at the end of the day, they're only aggravating themselves. Mm-hmm. If I allow it to affect me, then that's my fault, right? And I've learned in life that you can't control other people's actions, but you can control your reaction or your effect to some extent, right? Obviously, there are things that are going to trigger you. There are things that are going to upset you. But if I can tell myself and be confident in that I know what I'm doing, like, there was an incident where somebody definitely was, against the fact that I was a woman and was the car dealer. And I, for a second, I was upset and angry. And I was like, and I was angry because I was like, I know that I am capable, and I don't want somebody else to not think that I'm capable. But at the end of the day, but I had to regroup myself, and I had to retrain my thoughts kind of, and redirect my thoughts and say, you know what, let them think that way. Because at the end of the day, I know I'm capable. My managers know I'm capable. My dad knows I'm capable. And it honestly doesn't even really matter. Those other people don't really matter. If I believe in myself, that just shows through to everybody else, right? And that was the biggest thing that I know this is not really necessarily directly answering your question, but that was one of the biggest things that I had to transition myself into, is that I need to just be me, right? I know that I can do this. And if I stop trying to prove to everybody that I'm good enough, and I just am good enough, then that will show through, right? And so that's to one point of your question. But to the other point of how I structure a company culture, we are a very inclusive company culture. We love to hear ideas of all of the team members. We don't have staff or employees. We have team members, right? And every single person brings something different to the team. And I think that this honestly goes to what I talked about with my childhood and the way that I like to have friends in my life. I like friends that are all different. And I like the same thing with a team. Everybody brings something different to a team. It's like a football team, right? And I use this sports analogy only because it's kind of easy to compare to. Like, not every player has the same skill set. Not every player is good at the same position. That's why they're all together on a team to work together for one goal. And so that's the same way we structure our businesses. And I welcome ideas. I welcome, different ways of doing things. I want to hear how, a process is working for our team. If there's a process that's not working for our team and it's put into place to help that, then what's the point, right? If our goal as upper level management was to help our team members and it's not working, I need to know that. I don't want them to sit there and struggle just because I said something or I tried to put something in place. We never are the type of people that say, well, do this because I said so. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about why we think that this is going to work well. And then we welcome our team members to say, well, this is maybe a con. This is maybe a pro of this. What are the things we like to say? One of our VP of operations, his thing to say is, okay, here's our thought process. Now everybody get together and let's shoot holes in it. Let's see where things could go wrong, right? And we welcome that. And the other day there was an example of somebody, one of the employees made a mistake and there was an issue. Okay, so you're not going to get fired if you come to us and you say, I made a mistake, I'm not sure what to do, I need to figure this out, can you please help, or how do you want me to go about it? If you're transparent, right? Mm-hmm. Our first thing is not to fire you. Our first thing is to, okay, let's solve this problem, right? And I mean, to some degree, if you're stealing, that's another issue, but little things like that are, this person's probably thinking in their head, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job. And the reality is if you're just honest and you come to us and you say, this is what happened, I need help, we're going to help you, and we run our business as a people business, whether you're a customer, whether you're a quote unquote employee, team member, you are a person. And my personally, how I live my life is everybody gets respect, right? Everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, you start at respect for me. I believe that every single human being deserves respect. Now, trust is something that is earned both ways. And that's just, for me, is how I structure my life. I don't necessarily believe in earning respect, because I think you earn trust, not respect. I don't think that any person should have to work hard to have fundamental respect.
Yes.
And that's just kind of my thought process there.
I couldn't agree more. When I started to get into leadership roles, my father gave me some advice, and he said to me, be careful how you treat people when you're responsible for the way they eat. And I didn't understand it back then, but it is true. And that paycheck really does signify how they put food on their table. And so the fact that you create teams, not staff, and that you give people the opportunity to explain themselves and ask for help is a beautiful thing. And I think that really shows a true leader in someone who's willing to listen and guide. So, I know in the car business, a lot of times, and you and I talked about this offline too, there's this stigma, right? And I really want to kind of push that away, because I love what you stand for as and what you train your staff on. And there is this stigma in car dealerships. And I told you a story that was a horrific story when we met, about dealing with someone in a totally different location dealership that was horrible and very male chauvinistic. And so what kind of training, what is your culture in when it comes to working with your sales team? Because it's one of the biggest purchases besides a home. So, I just want to share this with those, because I want people to come to your dealership. I want them to meet you. I want them to meet your sales team. I want to help drive, people to a business that really cares about them and their happiness, and giving, when they buy something, they're getting something that they really want.
Absolutely. So the way that, and I think that the reason why this has worked out so well for us, my dad and I, is that the way that we treat people in our life is the way we treat people in our businesses. Every customer deserves a honest, transparent, and respectful experience, right? And when they walk through that door, they're greeted with kindness, they're greeted with, respect over the amount of money that they want to spend, the amount of money that, whatever financial position that they're in, other things that are in their lives, whether it's, a child coming in with their, older parents, not a child, but not an actual child, but, a kin coming in with their older parents that, they're purchasing their parents are purchasing a car and they, need their child's help, and, or the other way around, maybe a parent is co-signing for their kid. We're aware of every single situation and we're respectful of that. And there is not a single customer or salesperson, and we actually have changed their names from salespeople to client advisors, because so actually in BMW, which we have a BMW dealership, they're called client advisors as per corporate's wording. And so we kind of have taken that and put that into the Ford dealership, because salesperson has just like a negative connotation to it. So client advisor is truly what they are. They're supposed to be advising the client on the best opportunity or the best deal or the best situation and car for their needs, right? And that's something that, we don't want to push customers into a car that isn't for them or isn't going to benefit them in their life or is the wrong payment structure for them. Because it's very easy for a customer to get caught up in that moment of, okay, well, like, I think that I can make this payment every month. It's making sense based off of what the client advisor is telling me. And I think I could do this. And then at the end of the day, they go home and they're like, oh my God, what did I just commit to? So that's the last thing that we want. And then what happens is the customer gets angry, right? And then they're not coming back to our dealership because we just screwed them in their mind. So we are about creating long-term relationships with our customers, genuine relationships, and we never, ever will put a customer or a client advisor in a position where they feel uncomfortable, meaning we will never make a customer feel uncomfortable about the payment that they want to be making. We're not going to sell them products that aren't legitimate products. We're not going to sell, and we're not going to ever make our client advisors do that. There's a lot of dealerships that put added things into their sales without even really telling the customer, or they hide it in some sort of way. And if the customer doesn't ask, then they don't say anything. So, we work off of transparency. And at the end of the day, every customer, whether you have a lot of money, have no money, whether you are, whatever ethnicity you are, whatever race you are, you're a man or woman, whatever age you are, it doesn't matter. You're still a customer and you're still a person. And at the end of the day, that's what we are focused around.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so I just want everybody to know where they can go to find out more about Celebrity Ford of Toms River. Do you have that? Can you share your website address?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is celebrityfordoftomsriver.com. And then we also have an Instagram, which is @celebrityford. And we have Facebook, which is just Celebrity Ford of Toms River. And we are going to be having a grand opening come July. So anybody who is in the area is more than welcome to come. It's open to the public. I'll have an exact date, but if you guys follow us on Instagram, I'm sure you will be updated on that. And so we really enjoy having customers come to the store, and that's the thing. Like I get so happy, not because I know that there's going to be profit coming in from a customer, but I get so happy when there's life in the showroom and when there's people coming in and I can see that they're enjoying their experience. And I try to walk around. I do walk around every day. I talk to customers. I think that it's really important that they see, you know, that there's not this mysterious person behind a closed door running the dealership.
Mm-hmm.
I will speak to customers, and there's nothing that I won't do at the dealership. And that's something that I grew up being taught, right? I will empty the garbage. I will go talk to the customers, and I will, you know, find out if their, you know, car is, you know, being, how much longer it's going to take for their car to be ready. I will, you know, help a customer to their vehicle. It doesn't matter. I'm a part of the team as well. And at the end of the day, of course, I need that upper level respect of what I, you know, my decisions are for the greater idea of the company and all of that. And I need that respect, but there's nothing that's below me. And there's no person that's below me.
Yeah. I think when we talked about how your dad said it doesn't matter if they're the janitor or the CEO, you treat them the same. That, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Because our titles don't define us as human beings. We're still human beings.
Exactly. And, you know, and the same thing goes for life, like a homeless person on the side of the street, or, you know, the person that's driving their Porsche down the street. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to be honest with you. Chances are that person that's homeless on the street is probably way more humble than that person in the Porsche. And my dad drives a Porsche, and I'm not saying that it's every person, right? It's not every person, because my dad is very humble. He's very kind. He's giving. He gives back more than, I mean, I could even imagine, because he feels really strongly about that. And for him, it's also a biblical thing. My dad's very religious, or very spiritual, I guess is the better word. And so for him, he feels that he's been given all of these opportunities and all of these gifts by God. And there are people that have more struggles in their life than he does. And he feels that, and I do feel the same way. And I think of course, trickles down of the way I was raised, but he feels that he's been given all of this. And yes, it's great to enjoy these things, a beach house, a nice car, vacations, whatever it is. But you need to also give to the people that have struggles in their life, that you could be that person that changes their life, right? You could be.
Yeah, a change maker.
Yeah. And I speak to this story all the time about my dad, because it's really, I love my dad. He's really just an awesome person. And so is my mom. I'm not involved in business as much with my mom. So that's why my conversations have been targeted more towards my dad. But my mom is an amazing person. She's a lawyer, and she does probably 100% of her work pro bono. So she just always is giving back, always is doing, you know, she's on a bunch of different boards for different organizations. She's on the board of an organization called Golden Seeds. And it's a women's angel investing company, like board. So they will invest in women's businesses that need funding. And so she does that, you know, a lot of other things like that. But going back to my story about my dad, if I'm being too long-winded, just please let me know.
I'm enjoying so much what you're sharing. Okay. So thank you. And I know others will as well.
Good. I'm glad. You know, my dad will a lot of times go on the news as a automotive expert. And so he was on the news one time, I think it was like Fox and Friends. And a woman had sent a letter to him, and she said, you know, I know you probably get 100 of these letters, because he will get a couple of them, you know, she's like, I know you probably won't even see this, but I needed to try. And I know that, you know, you have no reason to do this. And I know that you probably don't trust me at all, but I am, you know, I lost my job. I have 2 kids. I'm about to be evicted from my apartment. And, you know, I just need some money to get me off of my feet until I can get a job and get consistent income. And everybody told him, you're crazy. Do not give this woman money. What is wrong with you? The woman said, I will give you every single dime back. She's like, I will pay you back once I get a job. And something in my dad's heart and in his gut told him, I just need to do this. He's like, even if I don't get this money back, she's asking for amount of money that is not something that is something I don't even blink twice at, right? And so he's like, I need to give this woman the money. It's just, there's something telling me to. And so he gave her the money, sent her the money. And it's been about 3 years since that happened. And she has paid him every single dime back. She sends him pictures. She has a apartment with her kids. She has a job. She's back on her feet. But you know what? He feels like, and I am totally with him, that he has been blessed with these opportunities and he's worked really hard for them as well. But it's not just to benefit him, it's to benefit the greater good of the world.
And that is true change making. See, that's the key right there, is that we all, like you said, it's not that he graduated college or went and got a master's degree. He went to the, what I call, the religion or college of kindness. And that's exactly what he's doing and what he's taught you as well. Yeah. And sounds like your mom, same exact thing. I mean, the work she's doing and angel investing. I mean, maybe we can have her on this podcast. I'd love to talk to her about her work, because that would be amazing. And any way we can empower women and help lift them up and raise them up as they're raising children, not raising children, doesn't matter. But that's change making. Anybody I say is an everyday change maker. We all have the opportunity to do that. So I so appreciate what you've shared and what you're doing, Veronica. I want to have you on again as you continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, and one of my things is, and you mentioned before that I'm very open about my stories and what I've gone through in my life, and that has, to me, maybe I am not yet in a position where I can, monetarily give back, but I don't always think that it has to be monetary, right? And I strongly believe that I not only went through the things and continue to go through things in my life for myself, but also to help others go through similar things, or even not similar things, but that my experience could help them in some sort of way, and that's why I'm open. And that has helped me heal myself so much more than, keeping it inside or even, I go to therapy, but for me, sharing with other people and knowing that something I went through has a meaning greater than just helping me has really helped me accept that sometimes things are out of our control and we don't know why they happen, but they happen for a reason. And maybe that reason is to help the next person get out of an abusive relationship or whatever it may be.
It's funny. I really believe that I met you for many reasons. I told you that when we met. Yeah. Because even just this conversation and our first conversation, there were things that you said to me that I needed, like you're telling your story and you're sharing from your heart, and I'm hearing you and I'm like, I needed to hear that. And when we met, the
same thing happened to me. You gave me great advice about, a situation that I had experienced about, somebody calling me the wrong name on purpose. And I just, that really stuck with me and how to deal with that. And even other things that you said, so I love learning from people. And I think it's, like I said, I agree. There's a reason why you meet everybody in your life.
And in every situation, somebody's the teacher and somebody's the student. And it switches all the time, depends on what the topic is in your conversation. If you're open to it, you can't always want to be the teacher. Sometimes you got to listen.
Exactly. It has to be, you have to be able to flip those roles. You're absolutely right.
So I want to ask you what I've been asking everybody as the last question. And I could talk to you for about 6 hours, just so you know, because you have such.
Me too, yeah. Absolutely.
So that's why I know I want to have you come back, because we didn't get to talk a lot about manifestation. And that was something that we talked about when we first met. And I do want to have you come back and talk a little bit more about that.
More than happy to.
That would be wonderful. So we'll have to plan that as well. But I'm asking everybody this last question, whoever's a guest, and it is, what advice do you have for the change maker that is already seasoned, right? How do they keep moving forward? And also, how do those, so you can answer this in 2 parts. How do those who don't even believe they can be a change maker, what advice do you have for those individuals?
So I'll start with the individuals that are not sure they can even make a change. My biggest thing is that a change maker doesn't have to change the entire world, right? So a change maker can change one little thing in their own world. So even if that means you're being a better sibling in some sort of way to your sibling, or you're being not better, but I guess better is the wrong word, but you're doing something to help your parent, or to be a child in some sort of way, or to be a change maker in your own life, right? A change maker starts from within. So working on yourself and that change in yourself is where it all begins. So it doesn't have to be this grand thing of, oh my God, I'm going to try to give every child in Africa food and water. It's impossible for you to be that sole person that fixes that problem. And that's something I've had to actually realize in myself, is that I can't fix all of the major problems in this world and in society. I can't change the fact that there's sexism in this world, but I can work little by little to create an environment that I'm in and that my team is in, where that's not something they need to worry about. So that's my advice to change people that don't think that they can make a change. And even little things like, if you have a grandparent that, is, older, use that opportunity to get to know them, get to know their story, get to know the things that they've been through, talk to them, and help them look back on their life and reflect on the things that they've been through. That's a change maker, right? That's something that you could do. So that would be my advice for somebody who isn't sure where to begin. And then I would say that somebody that is a seasoned change maker and is maybe struggling to move forward, or doesn't know how to continue, or wants to continue, is stay present in what's going on in this society, right? And I think that that's something that change makers have inherently, but there are change makers out there that will focus on one thing, like to end, like I'm just using this example, to end poverty in one place, to end, environmental issues in one place. Stay open to ideas, stay open to the small ideas, because I really am a firm believer that these small changes are what accumulates to the big change. So in order to move forward, you have to stay present in what's going on, the issues that are going on in the world. And it doesn't need to be a political conversation, because that I really struggle with the fact that there's a lot of things in society and social issues that have become political issues. I'm a people person, like I've said. People are people. So I believe that every person deserves the same equality and treatment and respect. So start with this, continue with the small things. You don't have to, change the world in one day.
Oh, so well said. Thank you. That was so wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are so welcome. So just to go back, Tom's River, Celebrity Ford of Tom'sRiver.com, right?
Yeah. Yes. And then Celebrity Ford at Celebrity Ford is our Instagram. And then if you want to, check out my personal Instagram, it's just at Veronica.Maoli. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, all those good things. I'm working on my website currently, so that will be up soon. And yeah, if you want to reach out, DM me on Instagram. I'm always checking them. I'm happy to talk, happy to chat with anybody. I love to talk to people, so I'm more than happy to talk about my story in more in depth with people, or have them share theirs, or if they want any advice or anything like that, I'm all ears.
I can't thank you enough. I really can't.
No,
And thank you for sharing.
Because I've been wanting to, as I told you, starting a podcast of my own is something that have always been thinking about doing, and this is been an inspiration for me. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for saying that. And like I said, anything I can do to help you to get yourself launched, podcast wise, I'm here to support you. So just so you know that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Veronica, thank you again for sharing. And we'll have you back on, talk about manifestation and some other things that you are just incredible. You're so inspiring. And so there's so much more.
And honestly, thank you for being you, because staying true to who you are is how we have people that make differences in this world. So thank you for that.
Well, mutual admiration for sure. And I'm looking forward to doing a lot more together. So this is just the beginning. So I'm grateful to have met you.
Thank you. You too.
So I'm going to say what I say at the end of every single podcast. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what small changes are you going to make today to get yourself closer to your goal? Have a great week, everyone. And again, thank you to Veronica Maoli. Bye.